Welcome back to Channel 2 Bio Asia Pacific 2020 with the next interesting topic that all of our audience has been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, with the use of technology, thank you so much, and the strength of our team member, we can create the impossible and make it possible, that finally eventually we can bring in the speaker from a different part of the world to take part and share and contribute in this important topic, because we will be learning more on pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine in Greece, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we are honored to have the representative from University of Patras, Dr. George Patrinos, with us here.
In this beautiful part of the world, which I'm afraid I haven't yet the chance of visiting, hopefully in the next years. So let me try to switch on the presentation. So in the next, let's say 25 minutes, I'll try to give you an overview of the situation of pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine in Greece. And I'm going to give you an update on basically a project that we run for the next 10 years now, which we call the Go Greece, or the Genome of Greece initiative. And this involves basically several aspects of personalized medicine in this part of the world, and in particular in a developing country, which is quite also relevant to the situation among the Southeast Asian countries. So I'll start with the presentation with a temple. Yourselves in Southeast Asia, you also have ancient temples, which we're very proud of. And this temple is the Parthenon. It's a famous temple, of course, in Athens, one of the hallmarks of ancient civilization. And the question is how we could correlate translational genomics into medicine with an ancient Greek temple. And the answer is very simple. If you consider genomics research as the foundations of the temple, so the discovery, the validation work, and all the stuff, and how we could move this to the implementation of genomic medicine, which is at the roof of the temple. To make this possible, we require pillars. And each different pillar corresponds to a different aspect of different discipline that correlates with personalized medicine, because we have to always keep in mind that the personalized medicine is a multidisciplinary approach. So the first column is capacity building. We need to have infrastructure. We need to have trained professionals. We need to have evidence to support the implementation of genomic medicine. Another pillar is economic evaluation of genomic medicine. We need to demonstrate that genome-guided interventions are cost-effective. We need to have addressed all the ethical issues pertaining to personalized medicine, how you protect the general public, how you protect anonymity, how you ensure that everybody will get the incidental findings and a complete report of his or her genome. You need to educate healthcare professionals. According to a previous survey we've run in Greece, we have shown that 13% of healthcare professionals still believes that adenine pairs with cytosine. So there is a huge gap in the genomics education, which we need to fill in order to make clinicians and healthcare professionals competent of translating genomics into healthcare. And speaking of translational genomics, we need to have informatics solutions. We need to have tools that help you to translate the genotype into a clinically meaningful format, because the clinician is not necessarily required to be educated to be able to address this specific discipline. And last but not least, you should increase the genetic awareness among the members of the general public, because it always takes two to tango. So as you can see, the different pillars in the temple correspond to a different discipline that all needs to be addressed in order to move genomics and pharmacogenomics research from the foundations of the temple to the roof. There have been several large-scale national human genome projects in many countries, like mostly large developed countries like the US, like Britain, like Brazil, like Australia. And so we thought, why not trying to implement a genomic medicine initiative in a small country like Greece? And that's why we kicked off in 2010 the Genome of Greece initiative. And the Genome of Greece, as it's stated in the title, is a long-term, large-scale genomics initiative that is focused on the implementation of personalized medicine in Greece. So the aims and goals of this project is, first of all, to determine the allelic architecture of the Greek population, focusing on rare, pathogenic or not variants that are characteristic for the Greeks. And that's, of course, because we're interested in specific geography of the pathogenicity of genetic diseases in the Greek population. Secondly, is to characterize the unique allelic spectrum of isolate populations, such as the islands, such as mountainous regions, or subpopulation groups in Greeks, like Romas or Pomaks. How to establish the pathogenic variant spectrum of common as well as rare genetic disease in the Greek population, which also goes hand in hand with aims and goals number 1. How to catalyze the clinical implementation of pharmacogenomics in the Greek healthcare sector, which we're doing pretty well. Actually, we're just completing now the largest psychiatric study on pharmacogenomics worldwide, involving almost 1,300 patients of Greek origin. We have developed and we maintain a comprehensive knowledge base to report the genetic heterogeneity of the Greek population as far as pathogenic variants and polymorphic alleles are concerned. How we could address important ethical, legal, and societal issues pertaining to the implementation of personalized medicine in Greece. How we can enrich the genomic education of healthcare professionals by medical scientists in Greece. And last but not least, how to raise genomic awareness of the general public in Greece, using a variety of approaches, very innovative ones, as you'll see in the coming slides. So really hope and we feel that this project has already achieved so many things, as I'm going to demonstrate you in the next slide, and we hope to demonstrate even more in the coming years to come. We have split the project into 5 different components that are depicted in different colors. The first component includes Work Package 1, which is the governance and coordination, and Work Package 10, which is the dissemination and communication of the findings. The second component involves the actual project, which is sample collection, genetic analysis, genome informatics, and biobanking. The third component is the LC issues, the ethical, legal, and societal issues, and performing a stakeholder analysis or a mapping expedition to try to map how stakeholders think of personalized medicine. What are their positions? What are our stance points, which is quite important when you are to implement this? And what is, of course, the power of intervention? The fourth component is pricing and regulation. What are the aspects that could help pricing and reimbursing of personalized medicine intervention? What are the regulatory frameworks? What are the guidelines that are included in drug labels in Greece? And last but not least, educational healthcare professionals and general public engagement, organization of conferences to raise awareness, training school students. That's a quite an innovative approach that we have adopted, and so on. And that's the timeline of the Go Greece initiative. As you can see, we're right here. So far, we have sequenced almost 100,000 Greeks. And we also have some very ambitious plans for the next year, of course, pending funding. And we really hope that in the coming years, we're going to secure significantly more funding to be able to run this interesting project. As I said, the project initiated in 2010. The first Greek was sequenced in 2012. It's actually standing in front of you. That was among the first individuals have been sequenced worldwide. And as I said, in phase 1, which is about to be completed this year, we have already sequenced like 1,000 Greeks, almost 1,000 Greeks. This is the coordinating center, which is a laboratory of pharmacogenomics and individualized therapy at the University of Patras in Greece, along with other collaborating centers that providing samples, using informed consent, of course. We have 1,500 subjects recruited. We have sequenced 61 individuals by whole genome sequencing, almost 110 with whole exome sequencing, and several others by using a pharmacogenomics panel, because this is the low-hanging fruit of personalized medicine, pharmacogenomics. That's why we have decided to engage into this particular direction and try to exploit a pharmacogenomics panel for sequencing Greek individuals so that we can readily apply this in the clinic at the bedside. We have 9 projects initiated, 12 scientific articles produced, the majority of which in high-profile journals, 5 theses defended, master or PhD theses, and 4 conferences organized, 3 of which for the general public. Let's see now on some preliminary findings. First of all, we have characterized a novel genetic locus that leads to sporadic ALS in Greek patients. In particular, we have selected a stepwise approach. We have used the discovery cohort, the validation cohort, and then we expanded into different populations as well to try to compare those findings. And we also found out that this particular gene, which is the FTO gene, it's explicitly expressed, specifically expressed in motor neurons, which is, as you can see here, which is a hallmark of ALS because it's a motor neuron disease. Similarly, we have identified novel genetic risk variants for pediatric celiac disease, which is another multifactorial disease, another polygenic disease. That's a quite interesting expedition. We have used a specific algorithm to try to compare Greeks with Caucasians, because the Caucasian is not a population, is a race. And Greeks can be quite distinct compared to other Caucasian populations, like Czechs, like Cypriots, like French. So basically, by using this algorithm, we were able to demonstrate that we have more than 80 genomic variants that they are specific for the Greek population. And as you can see in this Manhattan type-like plot, you see that we have several variants in different chromosomes that correspond to different genes, corresponding to different features related to the Greek population. This work is still ongoing, so I'm not going to spend more time describing this. Then we moved into a different aspect which relates to public health genomics, and we wanted to ascertain the views of healthcare professionals with respect to pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine in Greece and the impact to society. As you can see here, what I've told you at the beginning of my talk, almost 13% of healthcare professionals still believe that adenine pairs with cytosine and one with thymidine. And 32% believes that humans have 48 chromosomes. So you can see here that you have a significant knowledge gap in the healthcare professionals. As you can see also here, many of the healthcare professionals believe that their undergraduate studies are such that do not allow them to have sufficient knowledge on pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine. So that's what they agree. And if you look at the other side of the river, the general public's awareness, you see that they also feel the same, and they also believe, as far as direct-to-consumer genetic testing is concerned, something which is quite, let's say, broadly used in this population as well as your own countries, they do not feel strong about direct-to-consumer because the majority of them oppose direct-to-consumer genetic testing, and they would rather have physicians rather than pharmacists to explain the findings of a genetic test. What is quite alarming is this particular slide. You're all aware of nutrigenomics, how you could use genetic information supposedly to individualize your diet, which is ridiculous because no such thing exists yet. Unfortunately, you see here that the general public believes that genetic variants could assist in individualizing diet, which is ridiculous. So we should definitely try to switch around this particular belief, because this is wrong, and often the public gets exploited by private genetic laboratories selling them nutrigenomic tests based solely on the association of genetic variants with diet-related pathologies. And as you can see here, we tried to make a map of the type of genetic services provided by private genetic laboratories. And as you can see here, you have a significant portion of the lab that provides still nutrigenomic testing, genetic testing for athletic performance, for God's sake, genetic testing for aging, even personality testing. So you can see that the environment in Greece is not so well regulated, and that also fits very well with the study we have published 3 years ago, the situation with Malaysia. And here you see something which is even more alarming, that the majority of laboratories do not have information about accreditation in the websites. which really raises an alarm as to whether these laboratories are indeed accredited or they just omitted this information from the website. And then perform a stakeholder analysis of how the stakeholders feel about pharmacogenomics and genomic medicine in Greece. First, we determined the policy goals. Secondly, who are the players, their positions, the power of intervention. And lastly, the opportunities and obstacles. And as you can see here, the majority of the stakeholders are highly supportive or supportive in general of genomic medicine. In black, you see the entities, the stakeholders that have strong power of intervention. In gray, those that have medium power of intervention. And in white, those that have a low power of intervention. For example, pharmaceutical and biotech companies, Genetic and Genomics Professional Association, academic research organization, private insurance bodies, the pharmacists, the private providers, the private genetic laboratories, and so on. What is quite alarming is the fact that the press, but most importantly, the National Medicines Organization, are not mobilized. And what is even more alarming is that the Ministry of Health and the Public Insurance Fund is medium opposed to personalized medicine in Greece. And at the beginning, we were quite puzzled because we couldn't expect this type of finding. But as you can see here, the study was published in 2014, and the study was conducted in 2013, which is at the peak of the Greek financial crisis. And as you remember, in the ancient Greek temple, in the first pillar, it was the capacity building, which requires significant investment. And unfortunately, that is why, perhaps, this is what we assume, the ministry, the Public Health Fund body, and the National Medicines Authority believe that they're not in a position to make the dedicated funding to support genomic medicine interventions. So we're willing to repeat this particular project in the coming years to try to see whether this standpoint of this important stakeholder has changed. These are the references. These are the papers that have been produced so far from this project. We have generated a journal, scientific journal. It's called Personalized Medicine in Greek. It's all Greek to you. I know that. I'm sorry. And that was published in 2019. The content, unfortunately, only in Greek is available in this particular website, PerMed, for Personalized Medicine. We have kicked off a scientific conference on a national scientific conference on personalized medicine that was organized last year. We expect the next year in 2021, in April, to organize the second one, coupled with the Festival of Personalized Medicine, and in which we're going to tie together a do-it-yourself exhibition from the Smithsonian Museum in Washington about unlocking life code. And these are some pictures from the first conference. You see that it's heavily attended in one of the hallmark buildings in Athens, the Zapion Mansion. You see international speakers like Magnus Engelmann Sunderberg from Karolinska Institute and member of the Nobel Assembly, Federico Innocenti from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And this meeting has indeed attracted a lot of attention, with 180 participants attending this particular one. We're trying to establish e-learning modules to educate healthcare professionals on disciplines of genomic medicine in coordination with the Golden Helix Academy, an educational branch of the Golden Helix Foundation. And this involves modules that will be translated in Greek on bioinformatics, on economic evaluation, genomic medicine, and pharmacogenomics. And to educate students, we have decided to adopt a portable molecular biology laboratory, which is, as you can see here, which is accompanied by plastic models, comics, and online games for primary school students. And we've also included in this particular training not only students, but also educators. Because the more you educate the educators, you can use the train-the-trainers approach. In other words, you can use them to try to get this knowledge to the students. So you don't need to travel anywhere in Greece to try to get this done. You just rely on them to get the knowledge around. And this concept was awarded the Kafatos Labbox Prize in 2018. You see here Stavroula Siamoglu, who is coordinating this effort, and myself, significantly heavier than what I am now. And a month ago, we've published a paper in the American Journal of Human Genetics, basically celebrating the 10 years milestone of this particular project, and to basically share with everybody that wishes to replicate this approach how you can run a similar project in developing countries and low and medium income countries, as we'd like to say. So you see here that you have the coordination of the management, the dissemination, which lies at the top of this effort. You need to have a scientific advisor, which is quite important if you want to raise the impact of this particular project. You need to have the cases recruitment and the main pillar of the project, which is the analysis, the informatics, and the biobanking. And you should get this knowledge into the implementation of genomic medicine by go through addressing ethical, legal, and regulatory aspects, health economics issue, because this could help in deciding on pricing and reimbursement of those interventions, genomics education, and general public genomics awareness. And lastly, I would like to end by thanking the entities that helped to implement this interesting project. As I've told you, this project didn't have dedicated funding so far, and we expect that from now on, and we've achieved so much, so really hope that this will stand as a way of attracting additional funding to be able to increase the number of patients to be recruited and the analysis to be conducted. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Wow, Greece has contributed a lot to this biotechnology industry and to the world of biotechnology as a whole. Thank you very much. And at the same time, because your presentation is so interesting and there are a lot of perspectives that we would like to discuss further. So I would like to take our speaker as well as our audience here to the Q&A session. That may I start with the very first question, talking about, according to the presentation that you just presented earlier, the question is, what were the reasons for the general population of Greece not opting to use the DTC model?
Direct to consumer, yeah. So if you are getting a result, you're often not capable of interpreting it, right? Because you're not educated. It's to be expected. I'm not talking about somebody who is not educated at all. I'm talking about someone that is, let's say, a professor of philosophy or a professor of astronomy. There's no way that this particular guy could understand the result of this test. So you need to have someone who is qualified and educated enough to explain. Otherwise, it's all for nothing. He has basically wasted his money on a very expensive toy. So that we're trying to say always, that you need to be very, you have to be very cautious on the tests that they are sold, because most of the times people are getting misled by those particular companies, because it's all for the profit, it's all for bucks, you know. So it's quite clear. We're trying to protect the general public. Sometimes it's quite hard for us, but still we're trying to do our best.
Thank you very much for your answer. We also have two more questions for you. And this question is actually quite relatable because it's very important and we can learn from it everywhere in the world. The practitioner can learn from the answer very much. I'm certain of that. The question is, how do you facilitate a common understanding of the genomics guided pharmacotherapy process across the multidisciplinary in routine clinical care? How do you facilitate understanding of that?
Yeah, so the facilitation is through translational tools. So we're trying to make, let's say, clinicians, we're trying to make the life of clinicians easier. And we're trying to assist them by including specific tools to show them the guidelines. So what are the guidelines, and what are and by what means they could individualize the dose to their patients. So this is how we're trying to do this. We have specific cards that they have QR codes that are bared by the patients, and the patients go with them to their physicians, and by scanning the QR code, the physician can see the recommendation. So reduce the initial dose by 90%, or change the antipsychotic It's as simple as that. So we don't expect the clinician to be educated in bioinformatics. All we expect for him is to read the card. No Greek, English, Turkish, whatever, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So could you please leave us with the number of how many the healthcare settings have implemented the PGX or pharmacogenomics therapy into their faculties in your country?
Right. I'll give you a very rough estimate. Unfortunately, not many. So we are running this project in Greece in 5, I think, clinical sites. Only 2 of them have actively participated so far. We want to believe that this is not because of lack of interest, but basically because of the lack of awareness, despite the fact that we have tried to explain this as much as we can for them, but still want to use this as a pilot project to go to the healthcare, to the Ministry of Health, and try to show this as a success story. And by using this as a success story, because it is indeed a success story for psychiatric patients, we can convince them that this is possible to implement it in other hospitals as well, and in other medical specialties like cardiology, oncology, pathology, primary care, internal medicine, transplantations, infectious diseases, and so on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patrinos. I believe that the number will be increasing according to your generous dedication from your team, and as well as the institute that have been working on this purpose together in the long term. Finally, eventually, the number will be bigger and bigger. Thank you very much for your generous sharing today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks. It's good to be among you.
Thank you. Well,